TV Musings time for the new series, The 100. Hey everyone, it is Shannon. I'm here to share some thoughts on the series premiere of The 100 called, I believe, Pilot. I don't know, actually, but what I do know is it's actually not called The 100, it's called The 100, which I have such a hard time remembering, because I see The 100, but it's The 100. Let's take a look a bit at The 100. If you're unfamiliar with the show, the premise is it's 97 years in the future. Humans have deserted Earth because it was unlivable and they're now living in space, but they send 100 that's technically correct. They send 100 juvenile delinquents back to Earth to test it out, to see if it is now inhabitable, and they track them through these bracelets that set their vital statistics back to the Ark, which is where people are living. Now, when I first saw the series, heard about the series, I was interested right away, of course. It's based on a book, and I have not read the book yet. My library doesn't have it, so I have not read the book. And every time I've seen the trailers and stuff like that, it does sort of have a survivalist, of course, feel. There's a bunch of, teenagers on Earth, and so it's half... It felt like half survival, half party is kind of the the vibe I get. But after watching the first episode, it's a lot more deep and there's a lot more going on, and there's actually adults in the series. Who would have thought? But they aren't in any of the trailers. So that's one of the cool things about it, I thought, actually, is that it actually has two settings. We do have the setting of the Ark in space. If you're a fan of if you're a sci-fi TV person, you'll definitely recognize some people. We have Des from Lost, we have Galen from Battlestar Galactica, and I'm sure there's other people that I have yet to quite place. I don't recognize any. Oh, and we also have from Continuum. One of the teenagers is from Continuum. I can't describe him because that would spoil it. Anyway, if you haven't seen Continuum, watch Continuum. It's a great Canadian science fiction show. Anyway, it's got to be, if they're not filming in Vancouver, I don't know what's up, because there's lots of greenery for the Earth stuff and lots of familiar faces. Anyway, so the two settings, that impressed me. I thought that was cool. There's some really harsh things about the show. One of the big things is survivalist, not only for the teenagers who have been sent to Earth, but also because one of the things that's going on is they're not just trying, like, hey, we want to go back to Earth. It's like they are running out of supplies, air, whatever. They haven't really sort of said, but they only have survivability on the Ark for a couple more months. So they need somewhere to go, and they need to reduce the population, which gets into scary land of ways to do that. One of the ways they do that is all crimes are capital crimes. If you commit any crime of any nature, you're spaced. That's pretty heavy duty. The only people that aren't are if you're under 18, and then you're jailed. That's not the right term, but it starts with an N. Incarcerated, that's it. I'm working on my vocabulary. Anyway, so that's what they do. They round up these 100, send them to Earth, and, part hopes, hey, can we go there? And hey, it actually buys them a month more on the Ark. So that's pretty heavy duty. So it has some really interesting themes that can be going on, questions that can be explored. They've already brought up this idea of, like, people that are hardcore, who want to make sure they just survive, and then people who have a little more heart and want to make sure they deserve to survive, so because it's very cutthroat. One of the troubles I had with the first episode, of course, is that there's so many characters. You have an entire group of characters, at least 2 or 3, not factions, but like you have the hardcore will do whatever it takes to live people on the Ark, and then the people that have more humanity on the Ark, and then there's got to be more than that. And then on the ground, we have sort of the protagonist feels like what they're going with is a girl called Clark, and she is the daughter of an engineer who discovered that they were running out of I don't remember the specifics, but she's the daughter of a very prominent man who was killed for treason, but he was fighting the good fight kind of thing. So it's kind of expected that she's going to sort of take the lead, but on Earth, you got a whole bunch of people that could have been in jail for years you know, and they're teenagers, and now they're on Earth. So it's like, you know, it's the whole anarchy thing can drive me bananas. It's one of the reasons why I don't always like post-apocalyptic stuff, is the power dynamics, especially the gender dynamics, can get very messy very quickly. They've just gone with the power dynamics so far, and it's been interesting to see. They had Clark go off with some guys and one girl to look for the supplies. There was supposed to be this underground whatever that had supplies for years and years and years, so they're hoping they can find that, and then everyone else sort of stays behind, and it's kind of just like anarchy at the camp. Some of the interesting things about that is with the population control element, they have this whole thing where you can only have one kid. So one of the girls that's on the ground, she's actually there because she's a second child. So there's no siblings in this society except for this brother-sister that are both ended up on the ground. The brother he did something bad to get on the ship, and so they're on the ground. But of course, right when they get on the ground, she decides to go with one group and he stays at the camp, because you know that would happen if you hadn't seen your brother for years. As if anyway, so there's lots of dynamics going on, but I found it quite interesting. I liked several of the characters. I liked Clark for sure. She was a real go-getter and just has a smart head on her shoulders. Her mom, Abby Griffin, she's on the ship. She was interesting as well. The Chancellor, who enforces the rules but apparently didn't make the rules, that was interesting. And I like the two Johns that go on the supply trip on the on Earth. So there's lots of there were a fair amount of interesting characters in both sort of systems or settings. But I did feel like there's so many people in it. I was surprised. It really was a rich world. Like everywhere you turn, you felt like this person had a story. I don't know what the story is, and chaos could erupt. So the tension levels pretty high. Some of the things I find weird about it, like there's sort of this romanticized version of like in the kids' heads of being wanting to go on Earth, and I just wonder if that would be the situation if you grew up and your parents grew up and and maybe your grandparents have to do the math on paper. Maybe your grandparents were actually from Earth, but you have several generations that have only lived in space, and I don't know if you had only lived in space whether you would want to be on Earth, and whether it would be idyllic or foreign to breathe in Earth air and to touch water or those kinds of things. I don't know. There is also some horror elements because, you know, I think there was some kind of nuclear catastrophe from some of the things like glow-in-the-dark, you know, plant life and deers with two heads. So there were definitely some things that are freaky on Earth. Okay, now that was a little spoilery, so I'm gonna go into actual spoilers for the episode. So, you know, I think it's worth watching if you're interested in science fiction, post-apocalyptic, or survivalist stuff. Give it a shot, at least one episode, and see whether it picks for you. And then now, okay, spoilers. I need like a spoiler card. Actually, that was pretty crazy and gutsy that they killed someone in the first episode. One of the Johns is just gone. So that was crazy. I thought spacing people was pretty crazy. They almost spaced Abby. I thought they were going to. I was like, wow, that'd be heavy duty if one of these big characters that you have is gone. Mind you, we live in the land of flashbacks, so the actors are definitely probably not gone, but whatever. And I do feel, and this is where I get sort of like, oh, if I just didn't watch too much science fiction, I do feel like it could go a little Speaker of the Dead, and by Orson Scott Card. Just the end of the first episode felt like that might be the case. So I'll leave it there. I thought it was a good show. I'm definitely going to keep watching. I might keep reviewing it. I feel like I want to do like a TV show review, like that's like on a regular basis, and I might pick this one. I don't know. Let me know. Have you watched it? Would you like to see that? What are your thoughts? Thanks for watching.